Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling strategic management and technological innovation.
Mm.
And you know what that means. We're diving deep into the world of collaboration. Specifically, how companies decide to go solo or join forces to make those innovative dreams a reality. We'll be looking at excerpts from a textbook chapter on this very topic, so buckle up. I'm excited to explore this, aren't you?
Absolutely. It's a fascinating dilemma companies face. Balancing the desire to protect their brilliant ideas with the need for resources, expertise, and sometimes a little bit of shared risk can be tricky.
So true. Speaking of tricky, let's talk about Sangamo Biosciences.
Yep.
They're this company with a potentially revolutionary gene editing technology for HIV. But they face this huge decision. Go it alone or find a partner. Imagine you're in their shoes. Do you try to conquer the world solo or assemble a team of innovation superheroes?
It's a classic innovator's dilemma. The source material points to four factors that companies often consider when deciding to go solo. One is resources. Do they have the brain power and the money? Two is protection. Is their idea the kind that needs to be kept under wraps? Three is control. Do they want to call all the shots? And finally, the fourth factor is capability building. Will this project help them grow their internal skills?
It's like a checklist. Resources, protection, control, capability. To make it easier to remember, I'm thinking the capable company.
Yeah.
Get it. But what about Sangamo specifically? They seem to have this amazing technology, but it's still in the early stages. Does that make them a good candidate for going solo?
That's where it gets interesting. They're dealing with gene editing, which is incredibly complex and expensive. Think clinical trials, regulatory hurdles, large-scale manufacturing. It's a huge undertaking. Sangamo's situation really highlights how these factors can clash.
Right. Going solo sounds empowering,
Yeah.
but it's not always realistic. So
Yeah.
let's explore those collaborative options, the superhero team-ups. What are some ways companies can join forces in the innovation game?
There are several approaches companies can take. First, we have strategic alliances, which can be formal, like a contract, or informal, like a simple agreement to cooperate. So,
Like, okay, business handshake. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
exactly. Then we have joint ventures where companies create a new independent entity. Think Petronas and Saudi Aramco. They formed a joint venture to build a massive refining and petrochemical complex in Malaysia. That's serious commitment.
Wow, that's a power couple.
Okay.
So we've got alliances and ventures,
Yeah.
but I know there are more options.
Of course.
Right.
There's licensing, where a company grants another company the right to use their intellectual property. A good example is Silterra Malaysia, SDN BHD, a semiconductor company that licenses technology to make chips. They get access to cutting-edge tech without having to start from scratch.
That's a smart move. What else is out there?
There's the classic outsourcing, where you get someone else to do specific tasks or provide services. It can be a cost-effective way to access specialized expertise. And finally, we have collective research organizations, groups of companies that collaborate on research and development, for example. The CREST program in Malaysia brings together public and private entities to develop new tech in various fields.
So it's like a research Avengers team.
Yeah.
Pooling their skills for the greater good of innovation. I'm seeing how these arrangements could make even seemingly impossible projects achievable. But with all these different options, how do companies choose the right type of collaboration? Is there a secret formula?
You get the nail on the head. Each collaboration mode comes with its own unique balance of speed, cost, control, and access to those all-important competencies.
So if a company is all about speed and agility,
Yeah.
they might lean towards a strategic alliance. But if cost efficiency is their jam, outsourcing could be the way to go.
Exactly. And let's not forget about control. Some companies are fiercely protective of their intellectual property, so they might choose an arrangement that gives them more control over how their technology is used and developed.
That makes sense.
No.
Circling back to Sangamo and their gene editing breakthrough, let's put ourselves in their shoes. Imagine we're at that decision-making table, weighing the pros and cons of each collaboration model for Sangamo. Where do we even begin?
Let's start with licensing. Imagine Sangamo licenses their technology to a giant pharmaceutical company. They'd get an immediate infusion of cash, which is crucial for a company like Sangamo facing the high costs of developing gene editing therapies. They also wouldn't have to build a massive infrastructure for things like clinical trials and manufacturing.
So licensing could be a fast track to getting their tech out there and helping people with HIV. But what's the catch? There's always a catch.
Of course. The trade-off is control. The big pharma company would likely have significant say in how the technology is developed, priced, and marketed. Sangamo would be giving up a lot of decision-making power.
Okay, so it's a trade-off. Speed and resources in exchange for control. What about joint ventures? How would that play out for Sangamo?
A joint venture could be a great option if Sangamo finds the right partner. They could team up with a biotech company that has specific expertise in a relevant therapeutic area, combining their strengths to tackle the challenges of developing a gene editing therapy for HIV.
It's like forming a scientific dream team, pooling their knowledge and resources for a shared mission. But what are the potential pitfalls of this approach?
Joint ventures can be complex to manage. Aligning different company cultures, decision-making processes, and strategic goals can be tricky. It requires careful planning, open communication, and a strong foundation of trust to make it work.
It sounds like a high-stakes game,
Mhm.
but with the potential for incredible rewards. Choosing the right collaboration is like finding that perfect dance partner, someone who complements your moves and shares your vision.
I love that analogy. And just like in dancing, choosing the right partner is just the first step. There's a lot more to consider beyond that initial decision.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. You're talking about monitoring and governance, right? The stuff that keeps those collaborations running smoothly and avoids those messy breakups. Fill us in. What are the secrets to making these partnerships work in the long run?
It all starts with clear agreements. The source material emphasizes the importance of contracts that outline each partner's contributions, the level of control they have, how profits will be shared, and reporting requirements to keep everything transparent.
So that's like a prenup for businesses,
Sure.
making sure everyone is on the same page from the beginning and protecting their interests if things go south.
Yeah.
What else is crucial for a healthy partnership?
Shared equity ownership can be a powerful way to align incentives. When both partners have skin in the game, they're more motivated to work together and make the collaboration a success. It's like they're both rowing the boat in the same direction towards a shared goal.
Right. Shared ownership equals shared commitment. Makes sense. But we both know contracts and ownership structures aren't always enough to make a partnership thrive. What about the human element?
That's where relational governance comes in. This is all about building trust and a solid reputation between partners over time. It involves open communication, mutual respect, and a genuine desire to see each other succeed.
So,
Yeah.
it's like saying, hey, we're in this together. Let's support each other and celebrate each other's wins.
Yeah.
But we all know trust takes time and effort to build. How do companies create that strong foundation in a business setting where there's always an element of competition?
It requires transparency, responsiveness, and a willingness to address any issues head-on. Partners need to share information openly, be responsive to each other's needs, and proactively address any challenges that arise.
So, it's like any healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Communication is key. But in the business world, there's this added layer of strategic thinking. How do companies balance collaboration with the need to stay ahead of the curve?
That's what strategic positioning within a network comes into play. It's about understanding how a company's collaborative choices influence its position in the larger ecosystem of businesses.
Okay, this is where my mind starts to bend a little.
Yeah.
We're zooming out from individual partnerships to look at the bigger picture, right? The network of connections between companies.
You got it. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The source material introduces the concepts of centrality and brokerage in a network. It's about mapping the relationships between companies and understanding who holds the most influential positions.
So it's like a social network for businesses. Some companies are the popular kids with tons of connections, while others are on the fringes.
You could say that. But just like in high school, popularity isn't everything. Sometimes a company with fewer connections can hold a very strategic position. Take PPD Inc., for example.
Yeah.
They're a global contract research organization. They don't have a huge number of alliances, but they're positioned as a bridge between two clusters of companies in their network.
So they're like the connector,
Okay.
the go-between, facilitating the flow of information and resources between these two groups.
Precisely. And that gives them access to valuable insights and opportunities that they wouldn't have if they were just focusing on building a huge number of connections. It's not just about how many connections you have,
Right.
but about the quality and strategic placement of those connections.
This is so interesting. We've gone from individual partnerships to mapping out entire networks of collaboration. My head is spinning. But I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. What do you think?
I agree. We've explored the various factors that companies consider when deciding to collaborate or go solo, delved into the different types of collaborative arrangements, and even touched on the importance of strategic positioning within a network.
Right. And we can't forget Sangamo Biosciences, our gene editing trailblazers. And their big dilemma, their story, really brought these concepts to life. But hold on to your hats, listeners. We're just getting started. We'll be right back. to continue this deep dive into the world of collaboration strategies in technological innovation. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we went away, we were starting to unravel this whole idea of strategic positioning and collaborative networks. It really got me thinking about how interconnected businesses are and how those connections can be a real game changer in terms of innovation.
It's true. Companies often get caught up in the day-to-day of individual partnerships. But understanding how those partnerships create this larger web of innovation is essential for long-term success.
That PPD Inc. example really drove that point home. They might not be the most connected company out there,
Yeah.
but their position as a bridge between those two clusters gives them a unique advantage.
It really highlights how strategic positioning can be just as important as having a ton of connections sometimes.
Yeah.
It's about being in the right place at the right time, connecting the dots between different groups.
Okay. So we've talked about the different types of collaboration, how to choose the right partners, and the importance of clear agreements and trust. But what does strategic positioning actually look like in practice? How can companies leverage these network dynamics to their advantage?
Think of it this way. Every time a company collaborates, it's like creating a new link in this massive network. And a company's position in that network can significantly impact its access to information, resources, and potential partners.
So it's not just about who you know, but how all those connections relate to each other.
Exactly. And there are different ways to strategically position yourself. Being central in a network, having lots of direct connections, can be incredibly beneficial.
It's like being at the heart of the action.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to collaborate with you. You're in the loop on all the latest developments.
Precisely. But there's also this idea of brokerage, which is where a company with fewer connections can still hold a very strategic position by bridging different parts of the network.
So it's like being the translator between different worlds,
Yeah.
helping them understand each other and collaborate effectively.
That's a fantastic way to put it. A broker can facilitate the flow of knowledge, resources, and ideas across the network, which can be incredibly valuable for everyone involved.
Okay. My mind is officially blown. This whole network perspective adds a whole new layer of complexity to collaboration.
It does, but it also highlights the interconnected nature of innovation. No company is an island. Success often depends on understanding and leveraging these collaborative networks.
So let's bring this back to our listener. Why should they care about centrality and brokerage? How can they apply these concepts to their own work or interests?
Whether you're an entrepreneur, a researcher, or simply someone passionate about a particular field, understanding these dynamics can give you a real strategic advantage.
So it's not just for big companies playing the global innovation game.
Not at all. It's relevant at all levels. Think about it this way. When you start a new project or want to explore a new idea, who do you reach out to for advice or support? Those connections form the building blocks of your own network.
So it's like consciously building your own collaborative ecosystem, even if you're not running a multinational corporation.
Exactly. And by being mindful of who you connect with, how those connections relate to each other, and where you position yourself within that network, you can gain access to new information, resources, and opportunities.
It's like that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but with a strategic twist. It's not just who you know, it's how you're connected to them.
You've got it. And here's a key takeaway for our listeners. Don't be afraid to reach out and build relationships with people outside your immediate circle. Those bridges you build can lead to unexpected opportunities and collaborations.
So networking isn't just about schmoozing at conferences and collecting business cards. It's about fostering genuine connections and understanding how those connections can create value for everyone involved.
Precisely. And it's about recognizing that collaboration isn't a zero-sum game. By sharing knowledge, resources, and expertise, we can collectively achieve far more than we could alone.
I love that. This whole deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening, and you've really helped me see collaboration in a new light. It's not just about signing contracts and hoping for the best. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the network of relationships that drives innovation.
I'm glad you're finding it insightful. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I believe understanding these concepts can empower individuals and companies alike to make more strategic decisions and achieve greater success.
Speaking of success, I can't help but think about Sangamo again. We've talked about the pros and cons of different collaborative approaches, but we haven't really dived into what would be the best choice for them. What factors should they consider when making this critical decision?
It's a complex decision with no easy answers. But if I were advising Sangamo, I'd encourage them to think deeply about their long-term goals. What's their ultimate vision for this gene editing technology? Do they want to be a major player in the pharmaceutical industry? Or are they more focused on getting their technology to patients as quickly as possible?
So it's about aligning their collaboration strategy with their overall mission and values.
Exactly. And they also need to consider their internal capabilities. Do they have the expertise and resources to manage a complex partnership? Or would they be better off licensing their technology to a company with more experience in drug development and commercialization?
Right. It's not just about finding the right partner. It's about making sure the partnership is a good fit for their internal structure and capabilities.
Absolutely. And they need to be realistic about their risk tolerance. Joint ventures and strategic alliances can offer greater control and potential for reward, but they also come with greater risk. Licensing, on the other hand, is a lower risk option, but often comes with less control and a smaller share of the profits.
It's like choosing between a roller coaster ride and a leisurely stroll through the park. Both can be enjoyable, but they offer very different experiences.
I like that analogy. And just like choosing a ride at the park, there's no right or wrong answer. It all depends on your individual preferences and circumstances.
This is so helpful. It feels like we're giving Sangamo a roadmap for making this decision, outlining the key considerations and potential pitfalls.
And that's what's so fascinating about strategic management. It's not about finding the one perfect solution. It's about understanding the landscape, weighing the options, and making informed choices that align with your overall goals.
Speaking of informed choices, we've talked about the importance of choosing the right partners, but what happens after that initial decision is made? How can companies ensure those collaborations stay on track and achieve their intended outcomes?
That's where the magic of monitoring and governance comes in. It's about putting systems in place to track progress, address challenges, and ensure everyone is accountable for their contributions.
So, it's not enough to just shake hands and hope for the best. We need structures and processes to keep those collaborative wheels turning smoothly.
Precisely. And it all starts with clear agreements. Remember those prenuptial agreements we talked about earlier? Well, written contracts are just as important in the business world.
Right. Those contracts outline things like who's responsible for what, how decisions will be made, and how any profits or losses will be shared. But I'm guessing contracts aren't the whole story.
Definitely not. Contracts lay the foundation. But effective governance goes beyond legalities. It's about establishing clear communication channels, regular check-ins, and mechanisms for addressing conflicts or disputes.
So it's like creating a shared language and the set of guidelines for the partnership, ensuring everyone is speaking the same language and working towards the same goals. But what about the softer side of collaboration? How do trust and mutual respect play into this?
That's where relational governance shines. It's about building strong relationships based on trust, open communication, and a shared commitment to success.
So it's about going beyond the transactional nature of a partnership and fostering a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose.
Exactly. When partners trust and respect each other, they're more likely to be honest and transparent, to work through challenges constructively, and to celebrate each other's successes.
It's like building a strong foundation for the collaboration, something that can withstand the inevitable storms and challenges that arise in any partnership. But even with clear agreements, strong governance, and a solid foundation of trust, collaborations can still go astray. What are some common pitfalls that companies should watch out for?
One of the biggest pitfalls is misaligned goals. If partners aren't on the same page about what they're trying to achieve, it can lead to conflict and frustration.
So it's crucial to have those open and honest conversations about expectations and desired outcomes early on in the partnership.
Absolutely. And companies also need to be mindful of potential power imbalances. If one partner has significantly more resources or influence than the other, it can create an uneven playing field and lead to resentment.
Right. It's about ensuring that the partnership is truly collaborative and that both sides have a voice in decision-making. But even when partners are aligned on goals and power dynamics are balanced, unexpected challenges can still arise. How can companies build resilience into their collaborations to weather those storms?
Flexibility and adaptability are key. The ability to adjust the plan, to compromise when necessary, and to embrace change as an opportunity for growth can make all the difference.
So it's about seeing collaboration as a dynamic process,
Yeah,
not a static agreement.
exactly. It's an ongoing conversation, a shared commitment to learning and evolving together. And that requires open communication, a willingness to listen and learn from each other, and a shared understanding that the journey might not always go according to plan.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like we've covered so much ground, from the nuts and bolts of different collaborative arrangements to the more nuanced aspects of network positioning, governance, and building resilient partnerships.
It's been a pleasure exploring these topics with you, and I believe we've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating field.
I couldn't agree more. Before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to that thought-provoking question you posed earlier. Should all companies strive to be the most connected player in the game?
It's a question that deserves careful consideration. While centrality and brokerage can offer advantages, there are also potential downsides to consider.
Ooh, like what? I'm all about challenging assumptions and exploring the full spectrum of possibilities.
Well, being highly central in a network can make you a target for competitors. You might find yourself constantly defending your position or being pulled in too many
It's
directions.
like that saying, the tallest tree catches the most wind.
Exactly. And being a broker, while strategically valuable, can also be demanding. It requires a certain level of diplomacy, a knack for building bridges, and the ability to manage relationships with diverse groups.
So, it's not just about racking up connections. It's about being intentional and strategic about the networks you cultivate and the role you play within them.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of this whole concept. It encourages us to move beyond simplistic notions of networking and embrace a more nuanced, strategic approach to collaboration.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. We've covered so much ground, from individual partnerships to entire networks of innovation.
And I believe we've equipped our listeners with valuable insights that they can apply to their own work, personal interests, and even the way they think about the world around them.
Absolutely. But hold on to your hats, listeners. We're not done yet. We'll be right back to wrap up this deep dive with some final thoughts and takeaways on collaboration strategies in technological innovation. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's amazing how this whole conversation about collaboration has shifted my perspective on innovation. It's not just about brilliant ideas. It's about the network of relationships that bring those ideas to life. Absolutely. And as we discussed before, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to whether a company should aim to be the most connected player. It's about aligning your collaboration strategy with your goals, resources, and risk tolerance.
That makes sense. But let's say a company has decided that collaboration is the way to go. What are some practical steps they can take to make those partnerships successful?
First and foremost, be crystal clear about your goals. What are you hoping to achieve through collaboration? Is it access to new markets, cutting-edge technology, shared resources, or something else entirely?
So, it's like having a clear destination in mind before embarking on a journey. You wouldn't set sail without knowing where you're headed, right?
Exactly. Once you know your destination, you can start identifying potential partners who align with your vision and complement your strengths.
Which brings us back to that crucial step of partner selection. It's about finding that perfect puzzle piece that fits seamlessly with your company's unique shape.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And don't underestimate the importance of compatibility. Look for partners who share your values, your work ethic, and your commitment to the project's success.
So, it's not just about finding someone with the right skills or resources, but also the right mindset and cultural fit.
Absolutely. A successful collaboration is like a well-choreographed dance. Both partners need to be in sync, moving together gracefully and purposefully.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It reminds us that collaboration is about so much more than just contracts and transactions. It's about building relationships, fostering trust, and creating something truly remarkable together.
Beautifully said. And that leads me to another practical tip. Don't be afraid to invest time and effort in nurturing those relationships. Communication is key.
Communication, the foundation of any healthy relationship, whether it's personal or professional.
Precisely. Regular check-ins, open and honest feedback,
Yeah.
and a willingness to proactively address any issues are essential for keeping those collaborations on track.
It's like tending a garden. You need to water it, weed it, and give it plenty of sunshine to help it thrive.
You're on a roll with these analogies today. And speaking of tending a garden, let's not forget about monitoring and governance. Remember, these are the unsung heroes of collaboration success.
Absolutely. We can't just assume everything will magically work out on its own. We need systems in place to ensure accountability, track progress, and make any necessary adjustments along the way.
Exactly. Clear agreements, well-defined roles and responsibilities, and regular reporting mechanism are crucial for keeping everyone on the same page and minimizing potential for conflict.
It's like having a roadmap for the journey. with checkpoints along the way to make sure you're heading in the right direction.
Precisely. And just like any journey, there will be unexpected detours and obstacles. That's why flexibility and adaptability are so crucial. Being able to adjust the plan, compromise when necessary, and embrace change as an opportunity for growth can make all the difference.
So collaboration is a dynamic process,
Yeah.
not a static agreement.
Exactly. It's an ongoing conversation, a shared commitment to learning and evolving together.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I've gained a whole new toolkit for navigating the world of innovation and collaboration.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you, and I hope our listeners are feeling empowered to approach collaboration more strategically and thoughtfully.
I think it's safe to say that we've all learned a valuable lesson today. Collaboration, when done strategically and thoughtfully, can be an incredible force for progress, growth, and positive change.
Absolutely. And that's something worth reflecting on as we continue to navigate this increasingly interconnected world.
Well, that wraps up another deep dive, listeners. We've explored the complexities of collaboration and technological innovation, from individual partnerships to the intricate web of connections that shapes the global innovation landscape. Remember, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey, the principles we've discussed today can help you build stronger partnerships, make more informed decisions, and ultimately, achieve greater success. Until next time, keep those collaborative sparks flying.